আমার ঘাটা ছিল ওই পার ওই পারে একটা সেখান থেকে পার করতে ওইখানে আমার ঘাটা ছিল ওই পার ওই পারে একটা সেখান থেকে পার করতে কত করতে পারে পেমেন্ট অনেক টাকা পায় না পায় না আপনি তো ভালো পেমেন্ট আমারও যায় আমার তো ভালো হবে আপনি তো ভালো আমারও যায় আমার তো ভালো হবে
আমার নাম মোহাম্মদ আব্দুল জব্বার।
আচ্ছা,
আমার গ্রাম দরগাবাড়ি, জেলা নারায়ণগঞ্জ, থানা সোনারগাঁও।
আচ্ছা,
আমরা এটা পবিত্রভাবে মানে আমাদের বংশধরভাবে এই ব্যবসাটা জামদানি শাড়ি আমার দাদারা করতো, বাবারা করতো, পরে এখন আমরা করি। এখন আমাদের কথা হচ্ছে যে আমরা এই জামদানি যেটা আমরা পাইলাম ইশাকার আমলে যে সময় রাজধানী ছিল সোনারগাঁয়ে, ওই সময় জানতাম যে মুসলিম শাড়ি তৈরি হতো। মুসলিম শাড়ি তৈরি হইতো, ওটা একেবারে পূর্বপুরুষরাই বলে গেছে যে মুসলিম সোনারগাঁয়ে তৈরি হইতো। এটা মানে ব্রিটিশ আমলে ছিল, এখন তো আর নাই।
ইন্ডিয়ার মাল আসার পরের থেকে আমাদের মানে চাহিদাটা খুবই কমে গেছে শাড়ি, অথচ এটাও বেনারসি শাড়ি ওইটাও বেনারসি শাড়ি। তো ঘটনা হলো এটা আগে ছিল মনে করেন বাণিজ্যিক ব্যবসা, এখন হয়ে গেছে আন্তর্জাতিক ব্যবসা। সারা ওয়ার্ল্ডেরই এখানে মনে করেন ব্যবসা হচ্ছে। তো এর জন্য আমরা ইন্ডিয়ার কাছে একটু মাইর খেয়ে গেছে, এই কারণে তাদের কস্টিংটা কম পড়ে। আর আমাদের এখানকার সুতা খুব দামি সুতা, এবং আমাদের ভিয়েতনাম, চায়না, জাপান এগুলোর সুতা আমরা ব্যবহার করি, জরি পাকিস্তানের ব্যবহার করি, ইন্ডিয়ারও ব্যবহার করি। আমাদের এখানে যে জরি তৈরি হয় এই দেশেরও জরি ব্যবহার করি। তবে আমাদের দেশের শাড়িটা খুব ভালো শাড়ি হয়, আর শাড়ির জরিটা কোনো নষ্ট হয় না, এবং ডিজাইনও ভালো। এবং যে প্রশিক্ষণ আমি মনে করেন ইন্ডিয়া থেকে নিয়ে আসছি, সেই সেম ডিজাইন ইন্ডিয়ালারা এটাই করে। ইন্ডিয়ালারা এটা করে, আগে ছিল হ্যান্ডলুম ওইখানে, আমাদের এখানে ছিল, কিন্তু এখন প্লাস তারা পাওয়ারলুম করছে।
The Karighor Archive app is something we're developing together to help artisans to archive their work, their life stories, and also an opportunity for young designers or designers to engage with artisans or artisanal processes and craft processes that they otherwise would not have access to. I think that's really important to figure out. We're trying to bridge this gap between designers who are maybe in fashion school, design school, all over the world, with potentially artisans who have decades of experience or centuries of experience in sometimes, to collaborate together to come up with ideas potentially for the future.
So that there is also like with this background can also be touched back into like the design, sort of compare it maybe also with the design process and what that sort of means, so that potentially people from other places can get in touch on through the app with the artisans to collaborate and co-design.
And suffice to say, I think one of the biggest things artisans all over the world need are access to markets, access to new markets, access to new design processes that enhances or develops or supports their craft becoming more relevant in today's world. So I think a really interesting thing that you raise here is the idea of ecosystems, and I think both our studios are placed in an interesting space and time because we see what the future of technology is within the fashion and textile worlds, but we're also being able to reflect back on and understand these processes that have involved, that are centuries old or decades old, and we can begin to see with the students where these two things can align. And I guess this is where potentially the collaboration would work really well. So we're seeing where the future of threads and looms are. We're also seeing where potentially where the markets for different types of motifs and designers. And then it's a case of sort of connecting these new dots, that will only bolster the artisan because it will give them more tools. to compete in a very, very globalized market system. I think that's really important to figure out. I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest takeaways over a longer period of time, is that, how do we really reconcile industry that's, going forward with tons of R&D investment versus these artisans who don't have access to what is being produced at level of R&D and innovation at the industry level, because they are seen to be deficit of anything of value. I think we'll end up with something that hopefully will be a new ecosystem that embeds the artisan back into industry and puts them in some sort of control over how their product is developed and is marketed.
From the point of view of industry, we do think that there's a lot of different avenues that these artisans can kind of explore. For now, the products they're making and selling is very area specific, but with the project, I believe, the borders will get broken down and they can, explore different markets, in different countries. And there's also more room for collaboration to happen across borders. So there will be much more innovation as well, which will of course create a good diversity in product in the marketplace. It's a good opportunity for everyone to get involved because the data, because the products are so accessible now, on a platform. So more people can get involved and, more people can kind of get access to the information and the designs to kind of fuel their own, innovative projects going forward.
We were asked to create digital twins of certain types of heritage textiles like Jamdani techniques. We scanned the textiles in Dhaka using our state-of-the-art scanning machines and then post-processed the digital files in a number of 3D softwares, including Clo3D. Due to the large size of the textiles, we individually scanned sections of them, and all in all, we worked on 50 different motifs and supplied the digital files to the students.
Something that we'd sort of with the students obviously tried to give back, so that there is also a way of starting sampling again, not only thinking about a product and only making a product, and that it's always around making a sari. So that could potentially also be the way of in textile senses, you do the sampling, so you just research and develop the tech. You might also develop the technique in a certain kind of way or in a different way and try out different tools and add on different tools maybe as well into the process, so that the craft has also ways of evolving. I don't want to say enhancing, this is quite an enhanced process already, but I mean just some, also allowing some change and process to be embedded.
In the step of co-creation, we could give them a safe space to experiment with their ideas and designs. I think technology can help them in a lot of ways, and technology can be a tool like a loom or maybe a needle or any other tool that they're using. Technology can be just one more tool that helps them make their craft even better for the future.
So I think one of the challenges for us will always be understanding this intersection of technology, craft and industry. And I think we've seen it over the last couple of years of conversations with artisans in Bangladesh that they don't know how to interact with these new technologies. They don't know how to access these new markets where these new technologies exist. So for example, the Bangladeshi weavers don't have access to power looms that can help streamline their production. Whether it's good or bad, that's a separate question, but they just don't have access to that technology, and therefore they cannot compete with India, for example. So picking up, for example, this hand-woven Jamdani or this hand-woven Benarosi versus a machine-produced Jamdani or a machine-produced Benarosi is, maybe 70 to 80% difference in terms of cost. So an artisan who spends a week weaving this doesn't even get the return on this. So why shouldn't that artisan then use technology to, if they're producing similar designs?
Their every day goes into making things that would sell well in the market. So it is important in the future that these makers are given the credit for what they do, and these makers are let to explore what they like. And quite often outside fashion, we get to do craft as a leisure or as part of an enjoyment or sometimes as a meditation, but the makers themselves are not getting this privilege. So we need to make sure that in future we do take initiatives in order to make this as the prime focus of working with the artisans.
এখানে আমার 10, 11, 12তে তিনটা ওয়ার্ডে 1800 তাঁতি আছে।
মানে আপনার সমিতিতে 1800
সমিতি আছে তিনটা।
আচ্ছা
10, 11 ওয়ার্ড, এটা 3 নম্বর ওয়ার্ড, 2 নম্বর ওয়ার্ড, 5 নম্বর ওয়ার্ড, তিনটা সমিতি আছে। এখন 3 সমিতি মিলায়া সদস্য ক্যান্ডিডেট হলো 1800, আর মেম্বারশিপ পল্লী হলো 906টা। এর উপরে মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী সিদ্ধান্ত নিচ্ছে যে এখানে 906টা যাওয়ার পরে শেখ হাসিনার তাৎপর্য হচ্ছে শিবচর, এটা হচ্ছে শেখ হাসিনার তাৎপর্য। এখানে আমরাও থাকবো, বিদেশের সারা বাংলাদেশের তাঁতিরাও থাকবে। সামনে এটা 2023-এ না 2024